Hi, I'm Dave Deacon and welcome to OKLApreneur. If you're interested in building a business in our great state and want to learn from Oklahomans who have done it, you're in the right place. Many small businesses begin as a hobby in a garage. For one Oklahoma couple, that was the perfect place to hone their craft for the next level. As success started to fill the air, it was clear they would have to move their brewery to its own location. Coming up, we'll talk with two OKLApreneurs who learned how hard work and constant navigation of regulations can take a hobby from their garage to a business that is brewing success.
So we went from like 3-gallon batches of beer to 5-gallon batches of beer to mashing in like a cheap cooler, you know, on my back porch, to really actually getting stainless steel like mash tuns and like kettles and being able to actually like move liquid around, you know, all the way up to this.
OKLApreneur is made possible by these sponsors that believe in growing Oklahoma through small businesses.
We are Oklahoma's electric cooperatives, powering the needs of new generations with safe, affordable, reliable, and environmentally responsible power.
A lot of businesses start out as a hobby, but there's always seems to be a tipping point of when it becomes a business or just fades away. Join me in learning from two OKLApreneurs who committed to their hobby and made it a successful business. Travis and Lacy Richards of Nothings Left Brewing Company in Tulsa. Tell us about where we're at.
Okay, sure. Well, compared to like a year ago, we have full tanks literally every week, which is something that I think every brewery could only ask for, right? To just consistently be brewing beer. But we're open and we're busy and we're brewing and we're making moves, trying to up our production to start distributing out to liquor stores and whatnot. So we're doing pretty good so far.
Tell me about the name, Nothing's Left. I'm sure you guys get that a lot.
Oh yeah. I had a text group of some people back whenever we were first trying to come up with a name for the brewing company, and we would all just be like rapid firing like text messages out of different names we thought were cool. We had a lot of them like Big Red Giant or Iron Golem or just like funny stuff, try to keep it like half fantasy and half grounded, and almost every single one of them were taken. Like if they were cool, someone had already taken them. Yeah. And we just said there's nothing left to name our brewery. And then it took me a few hours because most things do. And after that, I realized oh my God, that's like the perfect name, right? Like nothing's left in the glass, and like everything's right when nothing's left. It just turned out to be so much cooler, I think, of a name and a brand than I ever even anticipated when we came up with it.
So Lacy, what's it like working in a brewery that started in your garage?
Well, first off, I'm really happy it's here now because our house was a brewery for so long. I always said if I had a dime for every broken bottle or, exploded fermenter, I would have enough money to open up the brewery I always wanted. So it's really wonderful, and, it's so much more than beer. A lot of it's about community and being with family, and now Oklahoma's laws have changed to where it's a place where people can enjoy the craft beer that artists like Travis are making, in addition to spending time with their family, and that's really, really important to us because we also have a child who spends a lot of time with beer.
As a business owner, it's important to set your product apart from the competition. For Travis, that meant taking the science of brewing beer to another level by adding his own creative twist.
I was making 5-gallon batches to start, and believe it or not, it takes a very long time to fill 5 gallons up from a tap, just like in your faucet, at your sink in your kitchen. So everything was just very time consuming. Heating up water was either on one of those banjo propane burners or heating it up on the stove. Initially, when we were doing the smaller batches, it was on the stove. So the house would just smell like beer, and not I think it's a good smell, but maybe not everybody likes the smell of mash, but and then it just kind of grew from there. So we went from 3-gallon batches of beer to 5-gallon batches of beer to mashing in like a cheap cooler, on my back porch, to like really like actually getting stainless steel like mash tuns and like kettles and being able to actually like move liquid around, all the way up to this.
Take me back to the market research, because at some point you had to say, yeah, we could make a go of this. Let's pull out the legal pad. Let's do all the research on craft brewers around the Tulsa area, around Northeast Oklahoma. Is it worth going ahead and doing this?
Mm-hmm. Well, I worked with the SBA for probably two or 3 years before we opened this place. Mostly just sort of like seeking funding and whatnot, but at the time we were also brewing with another brewer, like contract brewing our beer and having it canned and stuff. So we were selling beer. So not only were we like we were selling out a beer that we were making in Oklahoma City, we're like, okay, well, we can do that in Tulsa too. We got all kinds of stuff. I mean, just choosing the Pearl District and stuff, I would say we sat down with the SBA and we got reports and we got like traffic counts and we got like, there's a certain number of 21 to 55 who live in this area, and all those places were like, like Bixby, Broken Arrow, and those all have spaces going into them. And even some cities were not even so like welcoming as far as that, because we talked with city councils. Basically all around Tulsa. Before we were just like, we have Dead Armadillo up the road. There's Marshall's over here down on 6th, and it just seemed like a really like comfortable place to put it. It was really all just being out there, pouring beer for people, talking to other brewers, and just like kind of feeling everything out.
A really important thing to Travis is that he can make anything he wants, and people really kind of like it. And I'm not trying to be biased, even though I'm very biased. But he does what he does well.
Right.
And so when he has a new idea, people get really excited, even before it comes on the shelf. So we do crazy stuff.
We just
Pop-Tarts
casually mention it in the tap room, and it just builds a little bit of buzz. Like, when's that going to be out? Like everything, we always just kind of like, I love to prep ingredients for beer like out here, because people are just like, oh, what's going on over there? And then it just gives me a chance to like share an ingredient, be like, so this is a very particular type of lime, like give this a taste, and I'm putting this in a beer, and it just builds this like, this buzz for just whatever weird thing. I find weird stuff all the time. I'm just like, let's just play with it.
Travis and Lacy started their business during a very busy time in Oklahoma. Legislation was recently approved to retool some of the state's alcohol laws, which meant everyone who sold alcohol had to reapply for these new licenses, putting Travis and Lacy's application in the same stack as everyone else's. Their launch now hinged on when they would receive a very important sheet of paper from Oklahoma City.
So we opened at a really strange time, I think, just in legislation in the state, because we opened our doors, I think, about a month and a half prior to the October single strength beer law going into effect.
Right.
So not only were us as a little brewery in Tulsa, we had our application submitted, which even just getting everything ready for that application was rough. But you also have every single place that has sold beer or can sell beer, they all have their applications in to get their new license to be able to sell High Point beer on October 1st. And so I honestly thought we had just gotten lost in the paperwork, because other brewers that were coming up around the same time as us that were in Oklahoma City were bringing in their application and like, proudly setting it down like, I'm ready to start a brewery. And then right next to him is a lawyer in a suit with 57 applications for come and go or for a quick trip or whatever, And so we came in at a time where it was almost like, I would say 8 to 9 weeks from the day we submitted everything until the day we actually got approved.
I think 90 days, but they said the max would be 90 days.
Right, and it just ended up taking. I got it a week and a half after I was like after the due date, right? Yeah. So it was the weirdest thing too. There was no fanfare. There was no like. The Able Commission didn't come down and throw confetti up and be like, "Congratulations!" Like,
wish they had.
I know. I really wish they would have. But it was just a piece of paper in the mail, and it was like, here you go, here's your license. And that was like, it was the weirdest feeling to like look at that license and be like, wow, like this actually means we can make beer now. Right. Like, it just, I felt, I don't know if I felt like it was like it was a celebratory like deal for us because we were finally like legal to make beer and could sell beer. But for everybody else, man, it was just like, whatever, dude, get to work. Like,
Yeah. No, I think I cried. I think when it took so long. The build out was ready. The glasses were in the thing. Like everything was 100%. People could walk in, and we waited.
We just didn't have any beer.
Waited and waited, and we don't want to. We're pretty weird about being legal and all that stuff because there are so many things that could happen if you're not.
Right.
So we waited really patiently, and the second we got, I think you put on your apron like that second. You were like, gotta go.
All right, time to mash in.
Time to mash in. So
we never knew how many little tiny things. I'm sure there's people out there like, duh, you needed that.
Yeah.
But to us, this is our first foray into trying to open up a retail spot that's also a manufacturer of not only just food, but
alcohol.
Like alcohol, like a product that is governed.
Yeah.
So it's pretty difficult, but it was worth it.
What advice would you have for an Oklahoma entrepreneur in any field? It could be starting a detail company. It could be buying an existing business. What advice would you have for them for starting a business in Oklahoma and maybe navigating the systems?
Don't be complacent. Don't just sit around and expect things to get done. Like you gotta be there. You gotta have your hands on it, and you have to work. I think people don't understand like how much work actually goes into making sure that things succeed.
Right.
As an entrepreneur, because really there's nobody else out there. We can't rely on anybody but ourselves. And like in our team, I can't. If stuff starts to go south, I can't just be like, I can't blame it on somebody else. No, I know who to blame it on, right?
Right.
I try to really understand where our demographic, where their intentions are. And what we found, honestly, is that it's really about family. Right now, people want a place where they can spend time. We're an experiential culture. And so it's not just like value or quantity and quality. It is, how can I spend really valuable time with the people that are important to me while having good beer?
Yeah, while doing something that's important to me.
Yeah, exactly. So like their priority is to be with important people, and my idea is to provide a reason to come to this place rather than any other place. Rather than a restaurant, rather than another brewery. Why would you want to come here? And it's because, a lot of people say we feel really different, or we feel like home, or you allow my dog in here, you allow my kid in here. We do a lot of family events here. We've brought out petting zoos, and we've had a brewery crawl and all kinds of stuff. So understanding like really what they're wanting and then giving them that thing while also making it very interesting and different.
Special thanks to Travis and Lacy Richards at Nothings Left Brewing Company in Tulsa. If you'd like to hear Travis and Lacy's entire interview, including how working with the city and county inspectors during the construction actually helped them in the long run, check out the OKLApreneur podcast on our website, OKLApreneur.com. OKLApreneur is made possible by our sponsors like the Oklahoma Association of Electric Cooperatives, and we sincerely appreciate their belief the impact small businesses have in the growth of Oklahoma. Until next time, I'm Dave Deacon. Let's get down to business, Oklahoma.